After years of helping online businesses make more money by advising them on their taxes and finances, I've now made it my mission to reach as many profitable online businesses as possible to help them save on their taxes and make more money. On my quest, I bring you proven and real profitable online business owners, and we dig into how they do it. Hello again. Thanks for being here on The Few, the Proud, the Profitable. This is the podcast where we talk exclusively to 6- and 7-figure online business owners. We know that in this space there are a lot of people who fabricate, who inflate their successes. So what we do here is we take the guesswork out of it, we vet people, and we only talk to the people who are actually making money online. And today we've got one of those. We've got Ariane De Melo. Thanks for being here. Okay. I was asking beforehand if this was the right pronunciation, so I was a little nervous there. So got pretty close at least. Good time.
Good. Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, this is going to be great. So in just a few sentences, tell us who you are. What do you do?
So as you just said, I'm Ariane De Melo. I am a Halloween fanatic. I love Halloween. So that's James. Everybody, so say hello to James. I am a professional, classically trained actress and theater director. I live in Germany. I came from Brazil to Germany many years ago. Long story, crazy story, but here I am. I am a theater director.
Version of it.
I am a theater director, and what I do is help people with their public speaking, but not only the rules and the rhetoric thing, but to really be entertaining, to learn how to be professionally natural. That's what I say, to create an atmosphere. And I have a theater called the Theater of Dead Dreams, which is based on my dark fantasy novel. So that's what I do. I help people with their dreams through theater therapy, and I help people with their public speaking skills.
Yeah. Well, and that's cool, not knowing the particulars of what your model is or what your the curriculum is. I've known a lot of people who have gone through public speaking courses who have learned to be more confident, more presentable, professional. But what you say about the entertainment side, that ends up being much more lacking. And I think that's probably the harder thing to actually teach. You can teach competence more easily than charisma.
Yeah, this is a very interesting thing. I get a lot of clients afraid of the acting approach.
Yeah.
And people go like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna give, I don't know, something like that in the hands, and then you have to say to be or not to be. But that's not it. Actually, acting is the technique to reconnect to yourself, to learn how you function as a human being, to learn your own qualities, how your body wants to move, how to respect that, how to get your voice to relax, how to feel good about yourself, to create or to develop a persona that's not somebody else, but it's the representation of who you are when you are leading, when you are presenting your business to other people. So they are very little things. I have a method called foundation, and we go through all letters of the word foundation to build a foundation of speaking, because my experience has been that people know what to do, but they don't know how to do what they know what to do. So I don't know how to be authentic. I want to be authentic, but there's now, especially on social media, it's like authentic, it's casual, but that's not true.
Right. I mean, it can be if that's how you actually are.
Yeah, that is the point. That is exactly the point people are missing. If that's who you are, so you are going to make this professionally natural and use that as your strength, but it's not for everybody. Other people are naturally more corporate because they feel comfortable and that's who they are. And that's fine. And being entertaining doesn't mean being a comedian. It just means finding your own talent. So that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah. Again, that's cool just because most of the people I've seen who have been through public speaking training, they end up with there's this rubric they're sold, and this is the way you want to present yourself, and this is the way you do this. And to an extent, there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually good. You're getting some foundational building blocks for what, regardless of your style and who you are, that you're probably going to need to know and deal with. But you do end up with these little clones and these little carbon copies, and the people who more naturally fit into that rubric, who fit into that mold, they excel because that matches the way they should be speaking. It's a corporate teaching structure, and that's the way they are naturally, versus the person who is more casual, who does more of a fireside chat, versus someone who's a little funnier. Whatever it is, you have these people who they're still competent, but their true talent kind of gets lost in that training.
That's the whole. I work with the TED brand. I work with different TEDx events around the world, and they send me the speakers they've already chosen to fine-tune their talks during the process. And I have that a lot. It happens a lot. People are terrified. And TED doesn't like speaking coaches because they are afraid that this is gonna happen what you just said. It's just like everybody doing, the same things.
Yeah.
Like what? Yeah, and that's not what they want. And this is the thing. This is the real challenge of what I do. It's educating people that acting, it's not exaggerating. It's not gonna make you into me. I am a walking telenovela. I am a Latina. That's how I am. But people don't need to do what I do to be entertaining. And and a lot of people don't believe they can be entertaining, but yes, you can.
Well, you can be entertaining as yourself. And I think, I'm going off on a tangent here a little bit, but I think about when we're kids, and a good portion of this is good because as kids we can be really obnoxious, but we have so much of our kind of the rough edges we're getting rounded off. No, don't do that. That's not an acceptable way to be quiet. Don't make a scene. And largely that's what we need to function as adults. But I think somewhat in the process we do lose a little bit of the idea of who we actually are and the things that do make it unique. So so it is cool what you're doing, where you're sort of I don't know what the metaphor would be, but you're kind of those rough edges, you're bringing them back a little bit, at least for the purpose of this.
I live in a fantasy world. I write dark fantasy novels, and I am a cosplayer. I go out there, I read from my novel at the CCXP, which is the Comic-Con experience here in Germany, and I was invited to read from my book. That's what I do. I bring people into my world to wake up their inner child. Doesn't have to mean that they're going to do crazy things, they're going to be high energetic. No, it's to figure out what's inside. I have a theory and says your uniqueness lies in your dad's dream. So that thing that you want it to be, it's what actually wakes your charisma up. Because it's like you live in this little town and you don't have car and anything, and you need to bring water, to your house, and then you get all the training in the world and you get that water in your house and then you put it into a filter that's dirty. So that effort is that training you got. It's not going to get inside of you if the filter isn't clean. So that's basically what I do. I get the filter clean so all that training can be transformed into a creative energy, and you can actually do and say, oh, I get from this training and this training and this training, and I mix it all together, and I'm a great speaker, and I have fun
Right.
doing it. This is the thing. It pains me to see how many people don't have fun. And of course, I teach technique too, but that comes after we clean the filter.
Yeah. Right. Okay, awesome. So second question is, what's the best thing about having a profitable online business?
That I get to be with my kid.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a very tough thing being a parent. I don't know if you are a parent. Are you a parent?
In 5 months.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
congratulations. So I am a parent, and I love spending time with my son. It was our decision not to send him to daycare so early. So being able to run a business online that brings profit gives me the freedom to be at home with my kid for a lot more time than I would if I had a day job. So
Yeah. Well, again,
time.
we're starting to have to plan for that and try and figure it out. And I've had clients for years where this has been a struggle because at least here in the U.S., we don't have particularly good paid time off. Maternity leave for most
I know.
companies is unpaid. For most people, it caps at about 4 months for the year. So you have more, and just cost of living is high in a lot of areas. So you have a real struggle of people just having to go back to work. And then childcare can be usurously expensive unless you have family or friends who are able to help out. So I think it's a little better, or not even a little better. A lot of European countries have it markedly better, but it is still this challenge where people have good careers. Sometimes you don't, but even assuming you are fortunate, you do have a good career and you make a lot of money, you lose so much of that time because you're so tied to whatever the schedule it is that your employer set for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Germany, the thing is much better, but it's much better if you have been an employee for quite a long time and you have paid for the right to get a lot of money when you are on maternity leave. And I've heard many ugly stories of moms that have been fired after, I don't know, 6 months or 1 year coming back to the job, though they're not allowed to, but they always find a way to kick the mom out.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it's all what we run into that here too all the time. It's not what the reality of the reason is. It's the whichever reason you document most aggressively.
So it's better here,
Yeah.
but it's not great. There are countries that are better than in Germany. Still, it's better than in the US. It's better than in Brazil. We have the same situation, 5 months, and then you need to go back to work. And whatever is, find a way to put your child somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I had one client, I want to say they've got 4 kids, and daycare costs are going to be so high for them. It was actually cheaper in their circumstance to get an au pair over from Thailand.
Whoa!
It was cheaper to fly a full-time live-in nanny from across the world was cheaper than them paying for what daycare was going to be for their kids.
This is harsh.
So yeah, I mean, having that, obviously, people work a lot as online entrepreneurs. I think if you're really fortunate, there are those people where it's just, oh yeah, I work 2 hours a day and everything comes flowing in. Right. For the majority of us, we're still working a ton, but choosing when you do it, what blocks you do it in, the days, all of that stuff, you're able to plan around your life versus planning your life around the job, which is a really nice.
That is the thing. So building a business is bone hard.
Yeah.
It's also something you don't hear on social media very often. So let me tell you, it's bone hard, but it's worthy. So yeah, it's not just a couple of hours. As you said, for some people, maybe yes, but not for the majority of us. We need to work. We need to do a lot, like a lot, at least at the beginning, to just like build everything. You're mostly a solopreneur. You don't have anybody helping you out because you don't have the budget to pay a team and all of this stuff. And this is something you ought to know. And that's a decision. And the decision was what you said, having the freedom to choose when to do things and having the discipline, the confidence and the patience to do those things you have to do to build a business until it gets profitable, till it gets where you want it to be. That's another situation. But it's a choice. And for me, it was very clear. I want the freedom to be with him.
Yeah,
that is.
completely. All right, cool. So number 3, what we deal with a lot in our practice and what we hear from a lot of online business owners is that managing cash flow can be a real struggle. So how do you do that? How do you manage that successfully?
It took a long time to learn that, because as I said, I am an artist, people. I had to learn a lot of things the hard way, because artists, they don't know how to do this stuff because they live in another world. So I literally had to take classes and educate myself, get myself an accountant that would sit with me and explain to me what I needed to pay attention to pay here less taxes, there less taxes. I have a company, so there's tax for the company, there's tax for myself. So on all that, it took me a long time to learn how to manage it. So now I have a system, but it really took time and a lot of failure and a lot of red numbers for a long time. But then you need to get educated in the things that you don't know how to do. Get people to help you who know what to do. This is something that I really had to learn.
Yeah, because for any of us, we've got propensities in certain ways that we think. And I think there was some study that I read probably 15 years ago now, where it talked about how the more trained you become, you train one part of your brain or a type of thinking, you actually become worse in other types of things. There are a couple different studies. One was they had some sort of helmet that they had developed that would like either temporarily slow down or speed up parts of your brain. And they would have it to where engineers weren't able to do basic math for a couple minutes because they like ramped up this other side. There was one study I saw, it was with Alzheimer's patients, and these people who had they were accountants, engineers, scientists, and just really regimented, and they had zero creative ability throughout their whole life. Then they get Alzheimer's, that part of their brain slows down, and they manifest this great creative ability. They became great painters or musically inclined.
This is interesting.
But it's like you've only got a certain amount of bandwidth, and the more you focus one way or the more you focus another way, the less of a propensity you have in different things, it seems like. So especially if you're coming from a standpoint of being an artist, a creative person, which is not something I particularly excel at, especially the older I get. If that's where you come from, there are exceptions, but more than likely that's not going to be what you're naturally better at. So hiring people out, even if you're not going to become a tax expert or an accounting expert, at least having a rudimentary understanding.
I think that's important because it's still your business. So for me, it was extremely important to understand how things work. And Germany is extremely complicated when it comes to taxes. It's so complicated.
Oh, it's horrible. I deal a lot with Amazon sellers. There's an Amazon training called Marketplace Superheroes. 2 guys who are in Ireland, and they'll funnel their US people to me. So I coordinate with the UK accountant that they deal with. and we make sure that how we're setting things up on both sides of the pond are actually they're working well in tandem. And occasionally, mostly I just say, oh, talk to Marlon, talk to Marlon, talk to Marlon. He'll tell you. But I've got to have a decent understanding about it. And I'll just hop on a conference call with him. And sometimes I'm like, all right, so just run this by me again. Run this by me a third time, a second time, because it's so, I guess just because you've got all this overlap of not only the countries having complicated tax systems, but then they're also close to each other within the union. Yeah, it's not particularly easy.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's really a lot of details. And it's really, there is a lot of things to do that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to understand. So I sat a long time with my accountant and I said, you need to be patient because I'm an artist.
Yeah.
And I know I have a handicap. Not everybody does. But I know my limits. So I know my limitations. And when I meet them, I get somebody to help me out.
Yeah.
And I really had to learn how to manage the cash flow that comes in. What is the money to invest? What is the money to save? What is the money to work with? What is the money to spend? This is all, it's all learnable, because if I learned it, yeah. Anybody can. It's just for you, as you said, it's just for you to have a little understanding of how it works. Mm-hmm. So you have an overview of everything and you know, okay, so that's what this is about. And you let somebody who knows actually do the work.
Right. Well, it's the same with us for different side projects that we have going on. We've got some commercial properties where we'll look at doing things, so we have to coordinate with architects or contractors. As a CPA, I know more about legal things than the average person. I'm by no means a lawyer, though. So it's not like I'm ever going to go through and draw the contracts myself, or I'm going to do the actual legwork of these things where I need professional services. But just having enough of an understanding where you're not just going in blind and you're blindly following and relying the advice of somebody else without, again, just a baseline knowledge of what it is they're doing for you and teaching you.
Just to not be surprised by everything. I don't like feeling stupid.
Yeah, right.
So I just get my knowledge. I read books. I learned that too. Yeah. Read the books that I'm supposed to read that are going to help me understand how business works, because that's also the thing. It's fundamental to get education on business structures. Mm-hmm. Something like this is so important. And we work online. And I don't know if everybody is like that, but at the beginning I had this, I totally forgot or neglected this part of, okay, it's not because it's online that it's not a real business. So
yeah, we deal with that all the time. Because you're able to start it with a laptop and internet connection. Because of that, there seems to be this real, and sometimes it takes a while to make the money, or sometimes it comes really fast. But because there is either a long or a short period where you're able to get by spending no money, there's kind of a lag even when you do start making real money to treating it like a real business.
Yeah.
That seems to be pretty pervasive in the space.
Yeah, and it's kind of confusing, because I think we're still conditioned to think that a business is an office somewhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even though we grew up, so not me anymore, I'm not Gen Z, but I'm a little older than that. But still, we're still conditioned to think, okay, the business is the people in the office across the street. And me in my studio, I'm just me in my studio. And I think that's where it gets dangerous. Not to have a structure, not to think business, not to think long-term, not to make long-term planning. And all of those things, they're important for the growth of a proper business.
Mhm.
So this is something, I don't know, maybe people are teaching this kind of stuff, and there are online schools for online business building.
For anything, there's a school for it.
There's a school for anything, but this is something that people really need to take care of. Okay, so start making money. That's nice. Now, how can I leverage this? How can I make this a proper business that it's going to be profitable, not by the end of the month, but in 10 years, it's still going to be there, reinventing itself, or where I want to be, and all these questions.
Well, and that's not so dependent on you and your time, because, and this doesn't even go to online businesses. This is true of most businesses where people have trouble scaling past the point where they're acting as a technician and swapping their time for money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I can do that myself. I'm capable of doing it myself. Even if they have the time, they don't want to reinvest. They either are cheap and they just don't want to reinvest the money.
Yeah, that helps. That happens too.
Yeah, even if it's going to make them a lot more in the long run, they're either cheap, or sometimes I think it's just sort of an ego thing. No one can do it as well as I can. No one cares about it as much as I do, and they don't want to relinquish any of the control. And yeah, it's a more difficult path if instead of having a company where you're billing out 200 grand and you're clearing 190, having a company that bills out $1 million and you're clearing 300, you've got a lot more challenges to that. But going to what you said at the outset, you have a lot more freedom because it's not so entirely dependent on you. And even though you've got the liability and some of the risk of having all that overhead, you also don't have the liability of if you get hit by a truck tomorrow, that everything is gone. You have it continues and has value and can serve your customers even if you're unavailable for a while or permanently.
This is exactly the thing. I think it's a lot. It was for me at the beginning, the mindset from freelancer to business owner. I think this is a big shift. It's a decision that needs to be made at some point. I say, am I a freelancer or am I building a business? So I changed a lot of things about my business this year, exactly because of all these changes and all these thinking and all the education to build a school called Unique Public Speaking that's not only attached to my person.
Yeah.
And I give online workshops 4 times a year and physical here in Berlin also 4 times a year. And we have other teachers, other methods, other situations, and other offers within the school because of that. So it's the mindset, okay, it's me, B2B, and I will be forever a freelancer, or it's me building a business that's going to leverage, that has a more value for other people that I can scale and all of that. I think this is the shift, and one of the most important ones. The freelancer, let go of the freelancer, start thinking as a business owner. That's tough.
It's very tough. And I think it's the biggest thing that holds people back. And I think it's the biggest, once you bypass that hurdle and change your mindset, you have a couple of years usually where you make the same, maybe even make a little bit less, because all your time is going towards implementing systems. You've got higher overhead, you've got more expenses. But once you get past whatever the period is, getting all the kinks worked out, then it allows you to have this huge upswing, versus if you stay as a freelancer, you can only work but so many hours in the day. The market's only going to pay you but so much per hour for your time. So it depends on your profession, but whether your cap is 50 grand a year, 100, 200, 500, you're never going to expand and progress past a certain point if that's the mentality you keep.
Yeah, exactly. So the fear of losing, and this is all a process. So if you haven't been in a business school to learn to go through all these things. The normal average person that went to a normal school and then to a drama school don't know how to think that way in those systems. You learn how to be afraid of losing money and not existing anymore. So this is very tough. So it's never been easier to build a business as it is today, but it makes it hard because you need to fail a lot to learn the basics from people that came from business in the first place.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's fun. It's sometimes makes you angry, but but you grow a lot.
Well, it's better than the monotony of staying in the same job and doing the exact same thing for 40 years of your life. There's a lot of ups and downs with it, but you at least have some variety if you're doing it right.
And you are allowed to, and you're allowed to allow yourself to make mistakes, to learn from those mistakes, to fail, and then take a deep breath and look, what have I done wrong? What can I do better? What I can do at all, and I should let somebody else do for me. Yes. Yeah, this is important, but you have it in your hands, the power to create something, to give the world something that you would like to see in the world. So this is very powerful and a great opportunity, but it's not easy, and it comes with a lot of struggle. For some people less, for some people a lot. But it wins education, consistency, and quality.
Yeah.
Sometimes not even quality, but consistency. That's unfortunately.
Well, the quality comes over time. It comes
hopefully. Hopefully.
Hopefully, right? But that's one thing, and I mean, even this podcast is an example. I really enjoy doing it. I think it provides value. It's not the greatest podcast you've ever seen. Hopefully, in 100 episodes, it's a lot better. It's a lot better than it was the first 5 episodes. But I put off doing this for probably 6 months. I've seen people where they just never even start projects because like, I don't have experience with that. I'm not that great at it. And yeah, sure, you're not going to be great at the beginning if you've never done it before.
No, nobody will. No, but I was actually talking about scammers. So people who actually don't know and don't want to learn. That's what people I'm talking about. So no, starting, you'll never be awesome at the beginning. Yeah. Everybody learn that. I think that's what's it's about in this thing we call life. We improve, we learn, and it's the beauty of being human. We are capable of doing that.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about scammers, sorry, I misunderstood. That goes to another side where, and like we talked about before, part of the reason we started this is because there's so many people who fabricate what their expertise and their successes are. Mm-hmm. And what I point out, what we talked about before too, is in our marketing, we're all putting our best face forward. We're trying to look as shiny and as nice as we can. So I'm not talking about your marketing. It might sound like you're making $2 million and you're making $1 million. That is what it is. That's the way a lot of marketing goes. The people we really take issue with are the ones who say they make $2 million a year and they've made $5,000 or they've done nothing. There's a difference between a minor inflation versus just an outright fabrication and falsehood. And especially online where everyone convinces you and people charge such insanely high rates for a lot of things, it's even worse when you're charging the super primo rate and you have no experience to actually deliver the result.
Yeah, no, I've seen sorry, I have a little cold. I've seen this happening a lot. I've seen people calling themselves video content creators for viral videos, and I have an award-winning filmmaker at home, and we sit and we watch those videos and we cry because it's horrible, and people pay 10 grand for that. And who is this person? I mean, it's just somebody who can write amazing copies and know exactly how desperate people are to make money or to just put themselves out there for an opportunity, and they pay. I don't know, how can somebody be so shameless and steal money from people like that? I'm not talking about beginners with the actual knowledge and willing to get better and succeed. No, these people are legit. I'm talking about people who know they just do something and people are gonna pay for it because they can talk good. This is unacceptable, and it happens a lot.
Well, we've had clients run into this. We run into this occasionally, where certain spaces are so tight knit and so small that if it was a broader audience, what was delivered was nowhere close to what was promised. And I think they know that in some of these niches, these really small communities, that making waves is going to be more expensive and detrimental to the person if they do it. The person who got scammed, sometimes they know that, okay, well, there's only 500 people in this general group and they don't want to be considered a pariah. So if I deliver anything, even if it's way substandard, they're not going to sue. They're not going to do anything. To them, making the sale is pretty much, that's where it ends. That's the goal, is making the sale, and everything else is completely secondary.
And I think that breaks my heart, because how can you do that? What happened in your childhood that made you act like this with people? Seriously.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it happens a lot. Of course, scammers, we've had scammers since there's humanity. But I think either social media has shown us how many people are capable of such behavior, or it really got worse because it's so easy. If you can sell yourself so good, people are gonna buy from you because they're desperate or whatever. But what you deliver, as you said, is just
nothing.
What?
Right.
What's this? Like, shame on you. No, really.
Yeah, and that's what, again, that's kind of what we did this to an extent, troll and call out the scammers and the people who are full of it, but also to celebrate the people who actually are doing it right, because doing it right, this is such an exciting space and such an exciting industry. So yeah, we're trying to just differentiate between the two groups.
And it's crazy. I've seen a lot of people with talent who actually know what they're talking about, but they don't have the confidence because they think they need to get better to actually sell that stuff, though they are already a lot better than the scammers. But they think, no, I cannot put myself out there because I need to fine-tune this, fine-tune that. And meanwhile, these people are taking the money from an audience you could help because you know what you're doing.
Right.
And this is a confidence issue. But I don't know why people that are legit have imposter syndrome and real imposters don't. Right. That's so crazy.
Well, it's narcissism. And there was some article I was reading, it was about why certain CEOs, politicians, whatever, why their followers, some of them will have this cult mentality, and how it's just regardless of what they do, their favorite celebrity, again, whoever it is, they're just stuck. And a lot, I can't remember what the term was, but it was tied to, a lot of them are narcissists, so they don't even see their own faults when they're speaking. And because of that, they're able to speak with such confidence that to the listener, confidence can be perceived as competence and ability.
Yeah.
If you say things confidently enough, then people will think, oh yeah, he's great. They're great. They're the best.
You just need to lie with a lot of confidence.
Sometimes, and that's horrible, but
that's not okay. That's really not okay. That's really not okay. And yeah, I think for me, it's the biggest issue with the whole social media thing. I don't know if I'm more angry at people, if I'm angrier at people who scam or at people who are good and are not doing the job.
Doing what they should. Right.
Because they are afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, people. I've been there myself, but hey, it's your responsibility to help the people you can help. It is.
Right.
It really is. And it's your right to get the money for the good job that you can make because you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And this is this is social media for you in a nutshell.
Right. All right, crazy. Cool. So in a couple minutes, just give us your main tip that every online business owner should know.
I can only speak from my experience is try to define what you really, really want to do. What is the thing that drives you? Study your market. See if there are people who need what you're actually offering. It's not something like a blue ocean and nobody's interested in it. Try to, if you don't come from marketing, I don't come from marketing. So if you're somebody like me, get some education from those people, from good marketers. We're going to teach you how to do this stuff, how to define your ideal client, how to define your goals, how to understand how social media works. And then you put yourself out there. Then you start building a personal brand. It was incredibly important to me. Everything that I have, everything that I've built, I owe to a branding professional. So personal branding professional, which was Desislava Dobreva. Everybody loves how I say her name, so I'm going to say it again, Desislava Dobreva. I have from her, from putting myself out there and seeing who I was attracting. And this is a process. Resilience is something that you have to have. You need to keep showing up. You need to educate yourself, especially when it comes to having confidence in yourself. Some people are naturally confident. Some people need to fight a lot to believe in themselves. Mm-hmm. And this can be pretty tough. So it is important to know, why are you doing this? What for you are doing this? Don't make my mistakes on not taking breaks when you're, especially when you're pregnant. You should. You should be able to work less and work smarter. You need to know that a lot of things are going to be on you. You need to know that there will be a lot of tears, that sometimes you will wake up and you're look in the mirror and you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this in the first place? Mm-hmm. And then there is a tip from me, and it's not what everybody says. You need to keep your goal on what you want, right? Right. Sometimes you need to keep your eyes on what you don't want. So sometimes I look back and I say, that's not the life I want anymore. Right. And even if I'm not strong enough to believe myself enough today, I know I don't want to go back there. So I need to keep running. So this is for me the most important thing.
Well, fear, I think long-term fear is a motivator that's just going to wear you out. I don't know that it has the most longevity to it, especially if that's your primary focus. But in the early days, like you said, the life that you don't want and the things you don't want to do, I mean, that's why a lot of business owners start out. That's the way it was for me. I hated being an employee. I had a miserable job. It was a couple miserable years because of working for a big corporation. Mm-hmm. And then even when it was the early days, because I started this with $2,000 in the bank, no clients, no connections. So I'm starting on a bit of a whim. Even in the early days where it was crazy hours, hardly any money coming in, all of the challenges that you deal with, it wasn't, what motivated me in those days was not so much, oh yeah, this is the great life that I want. Here are all the great things I want. It's like, I am not going back to that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
so yeah, whatever it is that happens to keep you moving is big.
it is, because and sometimes I had to learn how to do this because it was not my thing, but I had to sit down and learn how to do the math. So let's do the math. When you get a job by your qualifications, which is art, put that on the paper. Which are your possibilities to have the life, to create the life you want for yourself? Like, really, in the world, that it's not building an own business. And when you do the math, you will know that you need to keep going, because there's no way you're gonna create the life you want if you are like me and you have non-profitable education. And this was something that I really can tell everybody. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's going to be really, really tough. And you're going to cry a lot. And you're going to doubt yourself. But everybody has been there. It's not just you. And you will be afraid many times after that. But the conquering that fear and saying, I'm doing this anyway, even if you need to stop today and just watch Aladdin or any other Disney movie you want, just to stop and breathe and do nothing, to regain that strength to keep going. That's the way it is for everybody. I swear to you, not everybody is all happy all the time, like in social media.
That goes to what you were saying earlier, just now, about social media. Social media, we all know, is not reality, but it's easy to feel like it is, because that's all you're seeing. All you're seeing are the highlights of people's lives, where it's me on the beach, it's me feeling great, it's me at the gym. I'm like, well, I haven't managed to get to the gym in a week. What a loser. This person might not have either, but they just happen to put out the ones where they're doing these things. They haven't been on a vacation for 4 years, and then they're posting the vacation they go on. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But because no one's posting
failures.
No one's putting their failures, or I was really depressed today, so I didn't get out of bed. I haven't gotten out of bed for 2 days. No one's posting things where we're losers and they're not doing well. All we're posting are successes. So it's so easy for us to get kind of caught up in our own heads, thinking that we're not worthy to charge what we should charge. We don't have the expertise we need to fine tune, versus the people who just have this uber confidence who can just charge through regardless.
I'm just gonna sell this because I want the money.
And I'm awesome.
I'm awesome from no reason, but I'm just awesome. No, this really, I think Mel Robbins posted a video a couple of days ago, and she said that the social media gets a lot of people into this trap that we measure our social life based on what other people are living. And where you are now, it's where you should be, and things are going to build easier or more difficult, but it's your path. You're not supposed to compare your path to the path of other people. You don't even know if it's true. That's the first thing. That is the first thing. And I'm a mom. Do you think I have an easy life with a toddler?
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me. This is 3 kilo makeup. What I'm saying is that, of course, you want to build, and you're going to build the life for yourself that you want, but it's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to cry in the bathroom like everybody else did. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. It just meant that you are very tired, but you need to keep going. So crying is actually pretty good because it works like a calming medication or something like that. So it's really healthy for your person.
Sure.
So it's okay to cry. It's okay to doubt yourself sometimes. It's okay to stand up not knowing what's going to happen. It's okay to ask yourself if you're doing the right thing. But if you want to create this life for yourself, it's not okay to give up.
Yeah.
It's that sentence that I love and everybody uses, but it's good. When you're tired, learn to rest and not to quit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is,
Yeah, that's awesome. Very good advice.
This is a good one, yeah.
All right, so last question. It's one of two things. Either what's the craziest tactic you've seen to sell something online, or what's the craziest thing you've seen sold online?
Craziest tactic I've seen online. Let me think. I'm not a big fan of the controversial thing.
Okay.
Everybody needs to be controversial.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what's funny to me, and we're seeing it now a little bit. It's an easy target because it's an election year over here, but people are just saying outrageous things. And it's one thing if that's even what you believe. I don't get involved in politics at all, so I've got no dog in the fight either way. But if you're saying sort of outlandish thing and you believe it, okay, whatever, I don't care. But you can tell after looking at the posts a couple times and the stance just kind of flip-flops that it's not actually what they believe, going back to what we said at the outset about authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what they really think. They just know, okay,
pushing.
This is controversial. This is going to get people to argue with me. So then on Facebook's algorithm, they're going to see that I have 200 comments on this post, and they're going to think I'm great. No, it's just you're being a jerk.
Exactly. Yeah. So some people do it amazingly, like it's really their opinion and it's based on real knowledge, and they put out an unpopular opinion, and that is fine. But it's like everybody hating each other, like, I don't know, barking dogs. I look at Facebook and I say, what? What's going on, people? Chill out. So this is something, when people are forcing it and using this as a tactic, I mean, this is getting a lot of people anxious. It's getting a lot of people not willing to go out there and show themselves. Yeah, okay, we need to toughen up. We need to look at it in a professional way. But we are human beings and we are emotional creatures. And it's not always easy to, so especially if you have this thing with energies and these bad energies get to you very easily. Some people are more sensitive. And I wouldn't say you are not made for business, because that's also this talk. So you are too weak. No, I think you are just being too jerky. I don't think this word exists, but you got what I mean. So it's just pushing and pushing and pushing and being uncomfortable and being impolite. And I think, okay, I put a lot of unpopular opinions myself out there, but they are real opinions based on real experience. And this is okay for everybody. But this pushing, I think this is, for me personally, the worst tactic and the craziest to sell things online, because it really bullies people down.
Well, I don't think there's good longevity to it either. Because even if you're getting engagement and people can throw out cliches like, oh, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Well, there is. And in the short term, sure, you're getting this little bit of boost because you're getting this engagement on your page. But, okay, is your engagement actually converting to paying customers? Is
this
this
a question?
It's not even traffic, but it is all that activity actually converting to anything? And if you're just posting all this nonsensical stuff, people are going to get tired of it eventually, And even if you do have a service that they might want to buy from you eventually, they're going to be like, oh, that guy's a douche. I'm not going to work with him.
Not with that person.
Yeah. So
And this,
I'm not even sure exactly. I'm not sure what the angle is as a long-term play. I get what they're trying to do short-term, but I don't feel like it's going to be something that is a beneficial approach for them over the next couple of years.
No, I really think that, yeah, exactly. It needs to be the part of a strategy, attached to a personal brand, and all this needs to be really well.
And my brand is that I'm a jerk.
Yeah, and I'm a brand that I'm a jerk. I mean, I'm a nice person. It is what it is. It is what it is. I like being polite to people if I cannot be nice because I don't like them. It happens. But I try to be at least polite. That's the way I've been raised. And it doesn't mean that I cannot say no and that I cannot stand up for myself, or I cannot answer in a harsh way with trolls and something. But that is something that wouldn't work for me as a strategy.
Right.
So pushing this would make me feel uncomfortable, and it wouldn't be authentic, and I would break eventually. So I think this is really attached to who you are. What is your long-term strategy? Is this working? Is this converting? Is this worthy? And there's a lot of questions. So for me, it really is complicated, because then I really don't know. Okay, then I start reading these posts and say, okay, guys, it's not for me. Love you, success, but goodbye.
Right. All right. Awesome. Well, we've been going longer than I normally do, so I appreciate you so much being on here. For people who are listening and watching, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you if they're wanting to work with you, reach out? What's your best method of contact?
I'm really active on LinkedIn right now. Funny enough. Yeah, LinkedIn.
More and more of that.
It's been my main platform, actually, because I work a lot with introverted people.
Okay.
And the most introverted people are on LinkedIn, either than on Facebook and otherwhere. So, but you can find me. I have a Facebook page. My business has a Facebook page. So Unique Public Speaking, you can find me under my name, Ariane De Melo. So you can find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram and knock. And of course, my website, arianedemelo.com.
Okay. All right.
We're building 2 new websites for the 2 businesses, but still you can just come straight and talk to me.
Okay. Awesome. We'll make sure to post that whenever we publish this. But again, thank you so much for being on. And to everyone watching, we really appreciate you being on the Few, the Proud, the Profitable. Again, where we only talk to people who are actually making money online. Tune in next time. Thanks.
Bye-bye.